Hey everybody, it's Rod with the PhotoFair coming back at you with another video. Today I want to talk about a classic lens that's rapidly approaching vintage status, and yet it's an autofocus lens. Who would have thought that we'd get to a point where autofocus lenses are now moving into the classic and vintage range? But they are. This one is a legendary lens, and it's a legendary lens that you can pick up relatively cheap at PhotoFair and eBay and other events where photography equipment is sold. So what is it? It's the 80-200 2.8L, the magic drain pipe. Now you've seen videos about this probably on YouTube before. The lens has been around since 1989, so it is a dinosaur in the technology aspect of things. But this lens was one of the group of 4 or 5 professional grade lenses that Canon launched with their EOS system back in the 80s that really cemented them as the professional's choice for then 35mm cameras and gave them an edge coming into the digital era. Nikon had been the king of single lens reflex 35mm photography and by a huge margin, and Canon was really looking to take a piece out of their action. And the AF era was when they made their move, and they did. They became the most prominent professional brand out there for 35mm single lens reflex cameras, and later into the digital era. And this was one of the lenses that did that. This lens is great by today's standard. So this 80-200 lens it was sharper and really better optically than the 2 lenses that came after it, the original 70-200 2.8L, and then the 70-200 2.8L IS. Neither of those 2 lenses actually performed optically as well as this original 80-200L. They were faster focusing, they made some improvements in the weather sealing, and definitely Canon made some improvements, particularly adding the image stabilization. But optically, they weren't quite as good. Now, later generations, the Mark II and the Mark III versions, will outperform this lens for the most part. But the fact that this lens is comparable optically to brand new 70-200 2.8 EF lenses like the 70-200 2.8L IS Mark III. This lens is going to give you images that are kind of playing in that sandbox. And that's impressive for a lens that's now well beyond 30 years of age. It's super cool. This lens is not going to focus as quietly or as fast by any stretch as the modern lenses. It also doesn't focus quite as close. You got about a 6-foot minimum focus distance on this lens, which is adequate but not ideal. And mainly the focusing is not quite as snappy and fast. It's still fast enough. On my R5, this lens, I shoot at 12 frames per second. You're going to see images where I was shooting at 12 frames per second, and the lens was keeping up for the most part. Missing here and there. Pretty darn good for a lens that's more than 30 years of age. This is a great lens. I'm going to show some photos, do a little commentary about the lens, but if you can pick one of these up at the next PhotoFair, September 18th in Portland, by the way, coming up, and then another one down in Newark, California on November the 13th. So generally you can pick these up at the PhotoFair shows and for maybe anywhere from $350 to $500 depending on condition. I got a pretty clean one. I did get this one from Seawood Photo. Seawood does a lot of shipping, and they put stuff on eBay, but they also ship directly from their website. They're in San Rafael, California. In this modern age of Amazon and buying everything through the mail, they certainly are doing a lot of that. So you should subscribe. Subscribe to the Seawood Photo newsletter, because he sends a newsletter out with all the new inventory that they've taken in every week, and they take in a ton of used gear down there. And I saw this; it appeared on there, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta get that." Another shop here locally in the Portland area is Blue Moon Camera in North Portland. They also have a website where you can order things online, either to be shipped to your home or you can pay for it online and go pick it up at your convenience, whichever you prefer. I often do the latter. It's a nice little drive over there. It's very close to my house, and hang out and check out all the other stuff they have. They also have a lot of great old vintage, mostly film stuff over there at Blue Moon. So anyway, enough of plugging local camera shops. But get one of these lenses if you can. You can also find them on eBay typically. The only real downside to the Magic Drainpipe is it's an older lens that Canon no longer makes a lot of the parts for it. So if you do buy a used one and it has a problem, you could run into an issue with not being able to get it repaired because the parts are just not available. So that is something to bear in mind with these older electronic lenses. Once the parts are gone, the parts are gone. Now, there are some camera technicians out there that are handy enough to manufacture their own parts, and but that can get expensive. So keep that in mind whenever buying any of these really, really older electronic AF lenses that are getting long in the tooth. Is parts can be an issue. That's really the only thing you got to worry about with this lens. It's not going to perform in terms of speed of operation. Again, doesn't focus as close, but the optics are brilliant. It's razor sharp. Even on my 45 megapixel R5, the images look really good. So anyway, yeah, I think it's a great lens, and until I get around to spending the $2,699 for the new RF 70-200 2.8, which is a brilliant lens, that's probably going to be a while I absorb the $1,700 I just dropped on the 14-35. But that's ultimately a goal of mine, is to get that lens. But in the meantime, I'm going to use this lens, have a lot of fun with it. You can too. Take a look at the images. It's a fabulous lens. So that's it on the 80-200 Magic Drainpipe. Great lens, highly recommend it. $400 or $500, can't go wrong. Don't forget, I've mentioned it before, going to mention it again. Portland, September 18th at the Jackson Armory. PhotoFair is back. Bring your mask. That's the only requirement. You have to have your mask indoors. That's a local government requirement. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And we got another one coming up November 13th at Newark, California. Probably going to have to wear masks at that one as well. I'm waiting for the word from the hall down there what the rules are, but looking good there. Both these show dates are confirmed. So looking forward to seeing you at the camera shows up and down the west coast of these great United States and right here on YouTube.